have trust and believe that whatever you're doing is for good and is going to help the customers.
We never thought about we shouldn't have done it, right? So we never had that thought. We had so many other challenges that we overcame, but we never thought about like, oh no, why did we do it?
To conclude our series on product innovation, we invite co-founders of Bujjify, Rohit Jinka and Rekha Anem, to the show. Their lives took an extraordinary turn with the arrival of their daughter, Reva. Enter their company, Bujjify. Bujjify is a child development and parent education company dedicated to promoting healthy and well-rounded development for children from birth. Their PlayRigs are toolkits created based on decades of research and inspired by the Montessori philosophy. They are tailored to specific infant age and development milestones. They're here to talk about how they innovate their product and take on the big guys in the market. Hello, folks, and welcome to Startup Different. I'm Dave. He's Chris. It's episode 8 of season 3, and it's one of our startup shout-out series, and it's about Bujjify and how to innovate against the big guys. Really excited to have 2 other special guests with us today, Rekha Anem and Rohit Jinka. They are the co-founders of Bujjify. How are you guys doing today? Welcome to the program.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Dave.
Hi, good to see you.
Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. And so, first off, I'm just going to point out that it's pretty exciting that we have, basically a couple on the call. So you're like married and business married. And then we got Chris and I, and we're brothers and co-founders for our business. So we've got an entirely family business oriented show today. So that's the first thing I want to just point out for our studio audience. And secondly is I want to learn a lot about your product today and Bujjify. And I think it's very interesting. It's kind of in this space of like children's toys, but kind of, rethinking that approach, because right now when you think, like, I think about the toys I had when I grew up, and it was a lot of things with lasers and sounds and, kind of that obnoxious, almost like distracting sort of content. And what you're doing with Bujjify is a totally different sort of product where it's based on different principles and it's delivered differently. It is a very, very different end result. And so I guess maybe we can start things off today, and you guys can tell us a little bit about the company and how you came up with the idea.
So Bujjify, it's a child development company promoting healthy and well-rounded development of the child right from the birth. So our offerings, those are like we call them as PlayRigs, and each PlayRig, so it's curated with a set of toys and tools, and also a parental guide. So the toys and tools which are age appropriate and Montessori inspired, that focus specifically on the developmental milestones of the child for that specific stage. So for every 2 months, so we do have a kit which focuses explicitly on the developmental milestones of the baby for that specific stage. And each kit, it also comes with a parental guide which provides information to the parents on what developmental milestones do they need to focus on for their child for that specific stage, what other activities that a parent can do with their child at home in order to promote their development, and if there are any red flags that a parent need to watch out for based on the developmental stage of the child. So it's basically a package of everything, and it's again like basically it's a support structure which everything that a parent needs to know for their child for that specific stage, so that instead of like going through 1,000 other websites or going through 1,000 other information sites, all they need to do is just get that package and play with the child, and they have all the information that they need to know. So,
you know what I love about this is on Startup Different, on our podcast, we always talk about the MVP, lean startup, build, measure, learn, iteration. And I feel like this is like for toddlers, this is almost like systematizing that entire process of the build, measure, learn with each box, and then iterating, because you get a new box every 2 months and you learn something new and you get better. And I love how it actually cements, like, I think you might be like helping raise little startup minions, children that will grow up to be people that start businesses. Yeah.
I think that's the goal. I mean, not exactly to raise entrepreneurs right from the start, but raise smart smarter children, right? So what's happening these days is the parents, everywhere you see, there are like these plasticky toys with the batteries in it and all that, and with flashy lights, and of course they are going to entertain the child, but then the component where they actively engage the child, that's lacking. And basically what's happening is, it's everything is served on the plate. There you go, a flashy light to you. Just press the button and the light goes on. Child get entertained, and that's it. But the education part, the making them think of how to play with a certain toy, that's going away slowly. And that's where this idea of like going back to the basics, toys made of wood, no batteries, no kind of like loud sounds and all that, that came to us, and that's what was the direction that we chose to go. So no batteries or anything, and no loud noises, no flashy colors, so everything is down to basics. But then they encourage the child to actually work with the toy, thereby like making them think. That's where our critical thinking, problem solving comes from, and like building that skill right from the start. So of course they are going to become better entrepreneurs, right?
It's interesting. So I have a daughter. I have a daughter as well. She's 3 years old, and I definitely have seen these stages of development. So I think about early on in her life, she, when she's really young, like under 6 months, I think they can't see color yet, right? So you can show them like things that are black and white, and they'll be like very exciting and like interesting to them, even though to us it's kind of a picture that's black and white. So it's kind of interesting that there are definitely objectively these phases. And I wonder for you guys, when you're building out the different PlayRigs for the different age ranges, how do you find this research? How do you know what product to put in there? And how do you know how to improve those products as well to be more effective and actually like teaching the child?
So there are actually multiple things that we considered while building our PlayRig. So I'll probably start with, and Rohit can add in case. So first thing, as I said, so like research. So lots of research. So we did we spoke with Montessori experts. So we spoke with the pediatric experts. We took like lot of we took a lot of their inputs, and then we ourselves did a lot of research in the field of child development. And considering all that, and again at the end of the day, so we ourselves are parents as well. And I observe specifically, like when I give a toy to my daughter, so I see what, like how is she reacting with it. So how is she trying to explore with the toy? Like for example, when I gave her a battery operated toy, or where all she has to do is to simply press the button and it gives up some music and flashy lights. Yes, so she was entertained. So she used to press the button, she used to get entertained, do it for 3 to 4 times, and that's it. So she doesn't want to go back to it again. Like versus, so when I gave her a simple rattle, so I think she was around 3 to 4 months at that time. So initially, so the rattle which had rings in between. So initially she held the rattle on the left side, like the left head of the rattle, and she was trying to shake it. So it did make some sound, and then she was holding it in between, and she was trying to shake it. So as she was holding the rings as well, so there wasn't any sound coming out of it. And then again she was holding on to the others. I mean, like there were different ways how she was trying to explore the toy to understand what is producing the noise, right? So the sound. So and that's how like whenever we introduce each of the toy to her, so we observe as such. And it's not just about the how they play with the toys, but also on the safety aspect. Okay, so this like specific toy, so how is she playing with it, or how are the kids playing with it? Is it causing any safety risks to them? One such example was, there was a ring stacker available in the market, which has a double in between. And we noticed that when we gave that to our daughter, so yeah, so as long as it's on the floor, it's fine. But kids, they don't just play the way they are supposed to play, right? So she took that, and she was putting the dowel into her mouth, as in like it's of the size which can easily go into their mouth. So that's a choking hazard, right? So even those kind of things as well were taken into consideration when we were actually putting together the things. So yeah, so it's a lot of research from our end, then consulting the Montessori experts, then pediatric experts, and also like as we came up with the MVP, so we also had like we gave the products to some of the testing, like some of the families who actually tested the product, gave us the feedback, and again we made the design changes, incorporated the feedback. And so yeah, so that's where ultimately what we see today is our PlayRigs.
And I think just to add to that, it was again like a lot of research, and also I remember a phase where we were ordering so many toys from Amazon, right? So many toys because we wanted to test them out, like which ones are good, which ones are not, and also like come up with the design flaws from each of those toys, and wanted to incorporate all the best things into the toys that we were designing at that time. So it's, yeah, I would say it's a mix of all things, like a lot of reading, and a lot of like materials, like online materials available from the Montessori's, and how their philosophy of developing a child, educating a child. And then like Rekha mentioned, speaking with Montessori teachers, and also consulting some pediatric OTs and other experts and all that. So putting everything together, like all this information, along with the testing that our daughter was doing for us, the user testing, right? So yeah, I think that's how we came up with the first version of the boxes.
I think that's really interesting because, you know, what you're doing more than just selling toys is you're actually curating and doing all the research and talking to the pediatrician. So like, you know, you're offloading a lot of stuff that a parent would have to do, you know, buying a bunch of toys from Amazon and like trying them out and, you know, oh no, this has a choking hazard, trying to deal with all of that. You're really solving a lot of those types of things. So, you know, for the parents, it's a lot of peace of mind, and it does all that curation piece for you. So it's almost like it's part product, but it's part service, I think, as well, that you're providing to your customers.
Absolutely. So one thing is, we don't see ourselves as a toy company. Ours is like a child development and parent education company. So one of the biggest gaps is that parents lack knowledge, because on one day they are just two couple, right? It's just, they're just a couple, like going out, eating out, like going to movies, and like spending time with themselves. And within a few months they have a little one to take care of, so it's a whole new world. And all of a sudden they realize that, oh no, I don't know what to do with the baby, right? So that happened to me. It was an amazing experience to hold the baby in the hospital, and I was like, wow, she's amazing. The next thing that came to my mind, okay, what do I do with her, right? So how do I change the diapers? How do I feed her? So definitely the education and the knowledge, and it's not like a common knowledge that everything happens by itself. It's pretty detailed stuff, and that everyone needs to know. All the parents need to know. So that's one of the biggest gaps that we have identified, is the knowledge. So we are trying to incorporate that education component into our system somehow. So right now we are doing webinars with some of the pediatric OTs that we have collaboration with. So we did like 3 webinars, like starting from infants, then food. Our most recent was last Friday, where she talked about food, how to introduce food, when is the right time, what is the right time, and all. So we see ourselves as like a full spectrum parenting service. So you have toys for your kids, toys that are right and safe and sustainable, and you can get them at the right time for your baby. And you have like education package that you can educate yourself, and make sure you're giving the right things and best things, and best experiences possible to your baby. So that's our goal, to provide this platform. And yeah, I think right from day one we never saw ourselves as a toys company.
So how would you, you know, there's And I think this is awesome, by the way. And I think that's a really interesting take as well, that, in terms of your product differentiation, to some extent here, you're not just about the literal like toy, you're also about the services and like the information and the convenience that you're also providing to your consumers. What I wonder though too is, in your eyes, because this is there are other players in this market too. Again, being a dad, I've yeah, and by the way, I totally share that experience of holding the baby and being like, okay, what do I do with this now? But there are some big companies in this space. So I just kind of wonder, from your perspective, what makes you guys particularly different? What's something that you want to hang your hat on, that that this is a strength of ours in the market, and this is going to make the difference for us going forward?
So there are some big players in the market, but not necessarily in Canada. So when we started our journey, we looked at some of the similar things that were providing the similar products, but we were surprised to see that there were only one or two companies doing it the good way, and they were based out of US primarily, and they were not in Canada. So for Canadians to buy, so first problem is that I'm paying in USD, so it's not just the cost of the box. The cost of the box itself was expensive, by the way, but it was not just that cost. You need to pay in USD and CAD to USD conversions. You paid taxes on top of that exchange and all that. So it was getting super expensive. So the first thought that came to our mind was, why is no one else doing this in Canada? And then, unfortunately, the sad truth is that the options that we have in Canada, again, I'm not talking about plasticky toys and entertainment options. We still have those options, but when you want to like look for a specific developmental toy set, or like wooden toys or toys made of natural materials and things, options in Canada are pretty limited even today, even after we started like 2 years ago, right? So even within 2 years, there is not much improvement. Only like one or two companies, they started doing this. Again, not the kits, but just individual toys and all. But in Canada, options are pretty limited. So that's where we got this, we had this trigger to start off, like, because this is the right thing to do. And even Canadian babies deserve this, right? So that's how we kind of started.
I should hope so.
And of course, once we, yeah. And once we started, we sort of like doing our competitor analysis and looking at the product in detail. So that's when we figured that some of the other companies or competitors that are in the space, they are doing some things where we felt that those could be done in a better way. Like, for example, some of the kids, they have some random plastic toys. To be honest, like one of the kits I ordered as a testing sample, like from the company. I'm not going to name it right now, but so I paid about $130 by the time it reached home, because like USD conversion and all that. And that kit came with 6 or 7 toys, and 1 or 2 of them are like plastic toys. I could find almost the same thing in dollar store. So why am I paying like $130 for this? And keeping the cost aside, it's the materials, right? All our thinking was, let's go away from plastics as much as we can. It's not possible to go away 100% at the moment, but at least as much as we can. But then seeing those plastic toys was one of the turn down for us, and we were like, yeah, we can do it better. We can find natural material alternatives. That's where similar kit in our lineup, we replaced everything with the wooden or organic cotton or felt kind of materials, where we absolutely minimize the plastic. Again, I think only one product in our lineup has plastic. It's a water mat, and that was not part of any of the competitors' kit, by the way, but that's like a very good stimulant for the babies doing tummy time. So that water mat, we couldn't figure out a way to make that water mat with wood, right? So it's, you need to fill it with water.
That's probably impossible, isn't it?
I think that's one area, like that's one product we still have plastic in it. And then of course, like we wanted it to be a BPA free, and we tested it to be phthalates free and all that. But yeah, I think the point was going away from plastics, and we felt we did much better job at devising those materials, and also offering a chance like an affordable and very accessible option to Canadian parents. And another thing that we didn't like was locking parents in a particular subscription model. I'm a consumer. I'm paying for your product. Why do you want to lock me in a consumer like a subscription
Mm-hmm.
model? I don't like subscriptions because I know I want to cancel one thing, and then I try to do it like so many times with so many companies, and I never get to the finish line. And some of my subscriptions, I forget about them. They keep rolling in, right? So uh, as a consumer, I particularly do not like subscription model, but there are a lot of parents who like that, worry-free subscription kind of thing. So we wanted to offer like a flexibility. So we have like both subscription model, or if you just like to buy one box, you can do that. Like you are the customer, right? You are paying
Mm-hmm.
for it. So that's one big change that we brought into the space, and also availability. So some of the competitors, they make you come to their website, order products from their website, no matter what the convenience is and all that. Of course, like going to a separate website is not a big deal, but a lot of us buy from platforms like Amazon, marketplaces, and it's convenient. We have 1 day shipping and all. So some of these big competitors, they are not available. Their boxes are not available on these marketplaces. But we went like against it, and we started launching our products on these marketplaces because that's convenience, right? So we are there wherever customers want to buy. It's just like your podcast, wherever you get your podcast, right? So yeah, wherever you
Yeah,
go to buy
sure, for
your
sure.
products, we are there. So all these things, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Rekha, I was going to ask you, do you ever have situations, being that you're not locked in to the subscription model? Do you ever have times where a child will, because I'm assuming childs don't like progress linearly. Like they may have moments when they progress a lot and times when it slows down. And do you find that people can, because they're not locked into the subscription model, they can, maybe they've only had a box for a month and they can jump ahead to a more complicated box quicker? Does that come into play for you guys?
Yes, again, like each child, their development cycle is different. Each child is unique and they have their own specific developmental milestones. So again, like to your question, yes, so they can, like, even if if they order one package at a time, so yeah, so they could go for the like first package, and then probably like if they think that okay, so I think my child developmental like milestones and all, so I think they are progressing way beyond what they are expected to do, and they could go to the third one. So that's like not a no. At the same time, like it's not just for one time purchase, but also even in our subscription, even if they opt for a subscription, we are giving them an option where they could skip a play rig for whatever reasons. They could skip a play rig. They could change the delivery date if they think that their child still needs some more time with the existing play rig. They can push their next delivery of their next play rig to a later date. And on the other hand, if they think that their child has already excelled on the current play rig and they wanted to explore the next set of skills, so they can prepone the delivery date. So both in both options, so we are providing the flexibility. And yes, to your point, yes, so there are even cases where, like again, as I said, so each child as a developmental cycle is unique. So they could skip a play rig, or they could play with a particular play rig for a longer time than just the 2 month period. So yes,
Yeah,
that happens.
and we had one or two cases actually the other way around too, like where the baby was already 2 year old and our boxes only go till 12 months. But the customer, she reached out saying her baby was like developmentally delayed by a few months, so she wanted to purchase our 12-month box. So it went both ways. So that was like an
Cool.
eye-opening moment for us. That again, like
That's cool.
validating that these are not just toys; these are tools for the development.
No, I'm just saying that like another thing is these are like open-ended toys, as in like it's not that you have to play with them in one specific manner. So there are multiple ways. Now, like for example, so my daughter, so when she was around 12 months, the way she used to explore with the toys was different. And even when around 18 months, she still used to play with the toys, but the way she plays with those toys is completely different from the way how she was playing with them when she was 12 months. So yeah, so that's the beauty of open-ended toys.
Yeah, and I feel like that's also a good thing that you're thinking about in terms of your product, right? Is okay, so these toys might have more life in them than the specific like time period we're giving them. So with that in mind, as you continue to innovate those products and update the PlayRigs, you'll be kind of cognizant of that as well. Like, how is this actually being used by the consumer? On the, is it more nuanced that maybe, like, I'm just making things up, but you might decide maybe later, hey, maybe we should actually have another box in a tighter window that has only a small number of toys, but that's a really nice enhancement to after you're more than 12, 13 months to 15 months, you want to have like a little bit more for them, something like that. But at any rate, I think that's really interesting. And we're just running low on time here. So I'm just going to ask both of you one question just to wrap this up. I'm going to start with you first, Rohit, but Rekha, I'll go to you right after, which is if you were to give one piece of advice to a founder, an aspiring entrepreneur about their product, or really anything in general, but obviously we're talking about product today, what would you tell them? Rohit, you first.
I think one of the biggest challenges was to start off for us, because we both had and have like pretty decent jobs, and that pay well. We have a pretty decent lifestyle. So leaving that behind, not like resigning to your jobs the next day you have the idea, but at least that lifestyle, because startup is hard work. So leaving that behind and picking up all this extra work and all this hard work, deciding to do this was pretty challenging for us to make that decision. But then we did it anyway. We wanted to do it for our daughter and also like hundreds of other kids who are born every single day like her, right? So we wanted to do it. But once we took that plunge, we never thought about we shouldn't have done it, right? So we never had that thought. We had so many other challenges that we kind of like overcame, but we never thought about like, oh no, why did we do it? So my advice would be like, if you have an idea, if anyone likes that idea, like discuss with your friends, family, and who's going to be the potential customers, maybe discuss with them. And if you think there is a potential to that idea, and you should start anyway, right? So you can figure out other things like nitty-gritties along the way, but starting was our biggest challenge for us. So yeah.
Rika?
Yeah, so I mean, like, so just the other aspect that I would add is, so startup, it's not a flower path. So there would be a lot of highs and lows. There would be at times where you really feel, is it the right thing? I mean, like, you might be having a comfortable life, and then like at times you go so low that you keep reconsidering, should I really continue doing that? Am I going in a right way? Or there would be even sacrifices involved at times, I would say. But all I would say is like, just like, if you really have trust and believe that your whatever you're doing is for good and is going to help the customers that you're doing, just believe in the process, go for it, give it a decent amount of time before you think the other way.
I love it. That's a great take. Push through. It takes time. We talked about this on a previous episode too, where it was like, hey, you can't go out there and expect to have like a new business in like 6 months. Like, it's going to take a while. It's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take those emotional highs and lows. So I definitely agree with you. Well, thanks so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate it, folks. That was episode 8 of Startup Different Season 3. Geez, what season is it, Chris? And we are very, very excited to have our guests here today from Bujjify, Rohit and Rekha. And of course, folks, please rate the pod and follow us on social. And thanks so much. We will see you next week as we start our next series of season 3. Thanks for joining us. If you like what you heard, subscribe to and rate Startup Different in your favorite podcast app. If you want to see our radio faces, check us out on YouTube at Startup Different and look us up on social. We're probably there if you are. And lastly, do you want to feature your startup on the show? Reach out via our website, startupdifferent.com. See you next time.